we're going to reconvene in open session and welcome those of you who came tonight. Please remember to silence your cell phones. And tonight's meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, so please speak into your microphones. And if someone wants to address the board, please fill out a comment card and give it to Debbie, and we have one of them. Public comment is taken for items for 5 minutes, a speaker. And now, if we please stand for the flag salute. Can you report out from closed session?
Yes, on item B7, there were 2 leave of absence requests for 2 classified employees, and they were both approved via a roll call vote of 6-0.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And no student advisor to report. I'm sure he's very busy with homecoming, getting ready for tomorrow. And public comment for items not on the agenda. We do have one speaker. We have Dr. Trotter. And I just want to remind you, because I have to, that you have 5 minutes for public comment, and that, I'm sorry, you got a timer. Well, Nicole has a backup timer. And if you're not completed when it rings, then we're going to have to.
It's okay. Go.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Oh, my pleasure. 4:59. Thank you for all you do. It's a lot of work to be on the school board. And I'm tickled that Calpella has a soccer field now. So we're going to work with them to try to get a bunch of different things going there. 20 years ago when my kids were little, there were 2,000 kids in youth soccer, and there's only 600 now. Ooh. And I think that when you look at the national average of overweight and obese children is like 35% nationally in the 5th grade, and Ukiah Unified is 59, that we need to do more activities. But I came to here tonight to try to get the people on the board to do something magical in Redwood Valley. I understand from Gail that the schoolway property is now surplus. And so I've talked to the Rural Community Housing Development Corporation, who does low-income housing, et cetera, and they would be excited to work with the public to make a mixture of low-income housing, moderate housing at the school site with a rec center. And instead of trying to raise $1.3 million to build a swimming pool at Eagle Peak, which is hard to do, I think that we could, I promise you could have a Olympic swimming pool at that site and have a 100-day summer camp that would involve Eagle Peak and teachers. And so much like my mother used to throw out all 4 of her sons at the Methodist Youth Center and come back hours later, you could have someone take a math class and then go play basketball in Charlie Meyer's gymnasium, who I just came from a party from, who endorses this. So does Marie. Then you could take an art class and go play soccer outside or baseball at the Eagle Peak field. And then you could go down to the swimming pool and have a good time. And I think if you're a single mom or both parents work in Redwood Valley and you have children, what do they do during the summer? And I would argue it's one of their devices that are smoking something. And this would be a great addition. I know people have told me to take lithium and, to try to damper down the mania. But I really do think this could be done. And think of, vision what you want your goal to be, and then get over the hurdles, is what Eileen Brown tells me. And I think that this would be a remarkable thing. I went hiking with Roger Chetland the last couple of days, and he said there's a very similar situation in Santa Rosa at a park where they would drop their kids off that had some association with the school district. So that's what I would encourage you, and I'll give up my last 2 minutes unless there's questions.
Thank you very much. And we're actually working with a firm, I guess you call it, a real estate consultant. So we will have them contact RCHDC if they haven't, and
Okay.
also you.
Ryan LaRue is the contact at the
Ryan LaRue,
RCHD.
RCHDC.
HC, what is, I always get it wrong. I always get it wrong. I cannot get that right.
And thank you for all
Okay,
your
thank you very much.
support
Okay,
of our
bye.
community. We
Sure.
really appreciate
Okay.
it.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, employee organizations, CSEA, Stephanie.
Okay, good evening, board members and superintendent. So this week we held our third negotiations meeting of the 2018-19 school year, and we have another meeting on Monday. And we just wanted to say we appreciate our district's negotiation team's focus and respect, and we'd like to thank our team for their time and hard work. At our last regular chapter meeting on September 20th, CSEA voted Jessica Welch as our new chapter secretary and Brandon Eisen as the chapter union steward, and we are very excited to have them on board with us. Our regular chapter meetings are held third Thursday of every month at 5:15, and it's at the Technology Department building, and our next meeting is next Thursday on October 18th. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. For UTA, Terry.
Hello. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Kubin. UTA has been doing site visits to almost every school site now. We're really excited to have some time to just sit with people and find out what their issues are and talk to them about what they're excited about. So I'm learning a lot. Our elementary teachers are really busy with field trips, benchmark, and bridges. They hardly have time for anything else. Our e-board attended the leadership conference in San Jose this past weekend, and we worked on plans for member engagement. We have had 0 members request to be removed from our union. We're really excited about that. We feel like our union is really strong. We have had many of our new teachers sign up, not all of them, but maybe they will realize the value as the years go by. And thank you.
Thank you. Moving on for our leadership report, that is Mr. Osland. Great week for you with homecoming and all. I'm sure you have
Homecoming this week.
a lot of extra time on your hands, I'm sure.
Thanks for the reminder. It's helpful. So, leadership report. It is homecoming, but from a leadership perspective, the stuff that we've been working on, I've been involved actually in 3 days this week, 3 of the last 4 days in leadership type activities, and I'm a tough critic, and it's been a great week in the training that I've experienced. That training is included, today we were here for Principals Network, and the Principal Network, they include principals from Ukiah as well as throughout the county, working with Tom Maney, who is a nationally renowned former principal and superintendent, and just a lot of ideas flying and a lot of reiteration and reinforcement on great ideas. And so that's what we're doing there. We are in the middle of data collaboratives. We are also working with Leadership Network, and that includes teachers on learning rounds and teachers being in classrooms, and those are all ongoing initiatives. And then there's also a group in the district called DSLT, and it's even difficult for me to keep track of all of the different groups that we have in leadership in this district. All of them are meaningful, and DSLT is really focusing way ahead of the rest of the district on how are we structuring leadership, and not just academic leadership, but also the social emotional initiatives that this board and this district are committed to. And for me, that's been super exciting work because it allows me to work with administrators back at Ukiah High School in structuring social emotional leadership team and an academic leadership team that feeds into our larger leadership team at Ukiah High School, which is the teachers that serve as department chairs primarily. And so there's a lot of integration, a lot of ideas, all of which are guided toward academic and social emotional growth of our students. Which leads to topic 2 in our presentation about student achievement. And what I'd take you back to Ukiah High School, and we are very proud and we speak often of our AP programs and 95% of the students passing AP. And I'm involved in a math consortium with math teachers, and they were pretty stunned at what we're doing with math, and that's from all over California. But I really want to highlight student achievement at the other end, and that's both academic and social emotional student achievement with ninth graders. And this year we have hired a new teacher who is also a football coach, working as an assistant coach. And Mr. Williams is just doing a great job leading the 50 most at-risk ninth graders on our campus and providing both academic and social emotional support through a class that they take on that campus. And we're trying to create an academic as well as a social emotional family. And I'm proud of the work that those kids are doing as well as that teacher. And that's an experiment. They have one of their goals is passing ninth grade English. And if I showed you the data, you would understand why that's a goal. And so they're hard at work and also integrating them into our campus life. And finally, positive culture on our campus. Before returning to homecoming, I would comment on a couple of things, and one of them is this year we have a campus culture office, and Beth Housen is teaching, who typically teaches biology, and Beth has started a campus culture office with 2 classes, approximately 30, 35 students, and their job is to meet with all of the other subgroup leadership groups on campus, Club Latino, MESA, the ASB, FFA, and really kind of tease out what are the 2 issues on the campus at Ukiah High School that students want to address and change. And this was really an idea that was born out of great senior projects that the English department sponsors senior projects. And for a number of years, we were getting really, really great work out of seniors on the issue of sexual assault and consent. And from that was born the idea, and Site Council endorsed the idea of let's create an office where this isn't just senior projects, this is full-time work all the time, every year, 9 months a year at 4 grade levels rather than the month of May in presentations. And so I'm super excited about that. And Beth is a tremendous teacher and doing great work. And finally, I would return to homecoming, and homecoming is like nothing else in the world at Ukiah High. And Mr. Williams, who is that new teacher, actually apparently told me he phoned the Ukiah Daily Journal on Monday to report that homecoming had started, and he was new to the school, and he was amazed and never had seen anything like it. And he's been involved in athletics through high school and college. And then he said, and I want you to come up here and do a story about a new teacher's experience because this is over the top. And so the work that the kids are doing, it may look like frivolity, but in America, frivolity soon becomes leadership skills. And the next thing you know, the world is a better place. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you about those things. And now I'll take any questions that you might have.
Any questions for Gordon? Nope.
Oh, my.
Got off easy.
Easy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow. Acceptance of donations. We have a donation from Star Children Trust for Road Valley Outdoor Ed, and from Joan Wadhams for Ukiah Independent Study Academy for a total of $6,200. Is there a motion to approve the donations?
I move approval with gratitude.
Second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, we have discussion regarding canine detection services.
Jason and Chief Wyatt. By the way, most of you know Justin Wyatt. He is our new police chief, and we're super excited to continue our amazing partnership with UPD, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
We've agendized this because we'd like Chief Wyatt, I almost called you Captain Wyatt still.
It's okay.
Apologize.
It happens.
I slipped, just let me know.
It's okay.
Chief Wyatt, just talk a little bit about the timeline for the replacing Bugsy. And I think most of you know that Bugsy passed in September, maybe?
Just before school started.
Yeah. So anyway, we wanted to put this on the agenda to talk to the board about it. We know it's an important part of our drug prevention program and a deterrent to students to bringing drugs on campus. So would you just mind giving the board an update?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me tonight and allowing me to update you on where we're at. If it's okay, now I stole the show. That is Sally. But if you don't mind, I'd like to spend just a few minutes to talk about the history of how we ended up with a canine at the school, if that's okay. A number of years ago, we decided to couple our school resource officer with a drug detection canine, largely in response to the increased drug violations at the school. Our first canine was Daisy, and we experienced pretty quick success and were able to reduce the drug violations at the high school pretty quickly. And we've been able to sustain that by keeping a dog at the high school. We think the deterrent value is pretty significant. So we had success with Daisy. Bugsy replaced Daisy a number of years ago and continued that successful program. And Bugsy did kind of unexpectedly pass right before school started over the summer. Daisy and Bugsy were both rescue canines. When we obtained those dogs, the rescue canine program was pretty vibrant then, and we really had no idea of how old Daisy or Bugsy was because they were kennel dogs and they were selected for their play drive. So we didn't know how Bugsy was, but we think he was fairly old, so that happened. So we set out to look for a replacement canine because we'd like to continue that program at the high school. What we learned is that drug detection canine program has evolved a little bit, and they're actually breeding dogs for that purpose now. And the 2 dogs that we looked at this morning are actually from Europe, and our vendor has had 2 dogs for about 11 days, and he took a lot of time to kind of demonstrate and show how far he had gotten with training those dogs. This is Sally, and she's a Springer Spaniel, and she's about 2.5 years old, as we understand, and she presented very well today and has a high aptitude and actually a high work drive. So that's the one we selected to replace Bugsy. As far as the timeline, our vendor will continue to train Sally for the remainder of this month. He actually would like to come up for a couple hours either next week or the week after and partner with SRO DeLapo just to spend a few hours at the school to train in the environment that the dog is going to be in. So we're looking at doing that in the near future. SRO DeLapo will go down to Santa Rosa where the vendor is located and train for a week at the end of this month. And then the second week of training, we're going to arrange to occur actually at the high school if we can. And our vendor will come up and work with SRO DeLapo and Sally at the school for the final week of training. So that should be it for the training. And so the second week of November, that dog should be in service with our SRO. So I'd like you to meet Sally, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions? Trustee Vancia?
So remind me how often Sally will be at the school and how the scheduling works? Does she stay at the school all the time?
Yes, she will be everywhere that our SRO is. They're partnered. They're considered one unit, so to speak. So the dog will be with the handler the whole time.
And what is she trained to detect?
Thank you. So she is being trained to detect all 4 drugs, the standard drugs, which are cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin. And if I can back up just a little bit, that's kind of an interesting note. With the legalization of marijuana, drugs or dogs that were previously trained to detect marijuana became kind of obsolete on the street. In other words, they couldn't be used to train or to establish probable cause in the real world because marijuana was no longer an illegal drug, and a dog can't tell you which drug he's detecting or she's detecting. She's just detecting one of those.
So there's a bunch of them spares then?
That has happened. Bugsy was one of those dogs, but he had value at the school because marijuana is a little different at the school, so we continue with that program. The decision was made to continue to train Sally on all 4 of those drugs, but also as well as gunpowder for the purpose of detecting firearms. So again, that makes the dog somewhat obsolete on the street. You can't use that dog to develop probable cause for a search. But it is very useful for school purposes. So we made the decision to continue with that program and have the dog trained in all 5 of those disciplines.
So Sally's trained on your gunpowder now?
She's being trained right now on all 4 of those drugs and gunpowder as well.
That's great.
Thank you for asking.
Yes,
me.
Superintendent Cuban.
They don't give me a yellow highlighter, but I just wanted to remind the board that that the canine also works South Valley and Pomalita. So all of our secondary schools, and then we have a partnership with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office as well. They are serving Eagle Peak, and they have, our goal there is to do at least 2 searches a month, but a minimum of 2 searches. And with UPD, they do more than that in our in-town schools just because of the SRO program.
So will the dog alert the handler if you're just sort of walking by the walkers, let's say? Or is it an active period of?
It's usually during the active period where the dog is deployed. For the dogs, it's really about the play drive, and Sally has a toy in her mouth, and that's her motivation to find drugs, is because her reward is to be able to play with that ball. So there is the potential that the dog will hit on its own, but it's pretty rare that that happens. It's usually during a program search where the dog knows what it's doing. In fact, this dog, as I'm told, when it comes out of the pen, some dogs will just want to play. This dog is like ready to search. It's like, where do you want me to go search? I'm ready to work.
How often will you do the active searches then?
A minimum of a couple times a week, but generally the SRO does more than that. He will do random searches of the locker rooms and that kind of thing, just on an arbitrary basis and when he has time, so.
Great.
I'm pleased, I don't know a lot about dogs, but she appears to be a friendly-looking dog, and I'm happy you chose a friendly dog. Yeah, as opposed to a scary dog. Well, no, we do hear that criticism, dogs are so scary,
Right.
This is not scary. So.
Yeah, and with the car marked as K9, everybody thinks it's a German Shepherd or a Malinois or something like that. But for drug detection purposes, there's really no need to have that type of dog. In fact, the breeds like this, again, it's about play drive. So if they have a high play drive, they'll usually be successful as a drug detection
Play
K9.
drive meaning they want to play?
Correct. Yeah, they're very motivated to play, and they're all about that
They
ball.
only get to play after they find drugs?
They only get
That's-
the toy, that's special toy.
It's right. But they get rewarded for doing the search. Period.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Great.
It's not a bad life for a dog.
No. Any other questions? Thank you so much. We really appreciate your support of our
You're welcome.
schools.
Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Just one last comment. When Sally begins work, can we post that on Facebook? Or celebrate Sally?
We will be
Sally.
celebrating Sally.
But partly to
Yes.
let the kids know that's the point, right?
Oh, yes.
That Sally's there, right? Yeah.
Okay, next we have our draft budget reduction timeline. Is that Penny? Lucky you?
Good evening. So, as you know, when we adopted our budget for 18-19, the multi-year projection reflected a balanced budget for the current year and the 2 out years. However, at the time, we knew we did not have included any expense increases for a salary increase, which we know is occurring based on our MOU with UTA. So in light of that, and to assist the board with its responsibility for maintaining the fiscal solvency of the district, and the fact that when you see structural deficits in the budget, you need to either reduce expenses or increase revenue. In order to balance that, we've put together a budget reductions timeline. And that's because there is timing involved in making everything transparent and in order to gather the information we need for the board to make the decisions in a timely manner to adopt budget reductions beginning with the 1920 fiscal year in July. And as you can see, I started back in January of this year. The board, as you will recall, approved budget reductions to become effective July 1st, and we were able to achieve approximately $291,000 worth of budget reductions. Those are in this year's budget, so I thank you for that. Then this just kind of outlines meeting dates, milestones, and then the responsible groups. And as you can see with the blue highlight, that's today, us discussing this. We have touched on the need for budget reductions, both with UTA. Earlier this week, we met with the fiscal integrity team, the FIT team subcommittee, and discussed the fair share formula and the true up for last year combined with the estimate for this year, which then gives us a total for their salary increase. And then the budget reduction discussion yesterday we had with our classified bargaining unit, CSEA. And we're also discussing compensation with them as well. Then going forward, there are other meetings and discussions. We'll have later, or next week, we have our management or group that will be meeting regarding compensation, and we'll touch on the need for budget reductions with them. And then we have our district advisory committee in October. Then we'll have another board meeting, but we don't necessarily, may not have information for you at that time for budget reductions. But during the month of November, we'll spend the time gathering stakeholder input to add or possibly change the list that we developed last year. And where am I here? And so and then as we gather all of that, our fiscal department will take the time to cost out what what that would mean for the budget. And then in December 6th is another leadership discussion. We'll have leadership weigh in on the ideas. December 13th, regular board meeting, and another one in January, and then possibly a special board meeting like we did last year toward the end of January to finalize the budget reductions, because by the end of January, we are sharing with the sites their allocations for the next year. I'll be going to the school services governor's budget proposal for next year, and budget development begins the beginning of February. So we'd like to kind of have everything wrapped up by then. It's a lot to do, but we can do it, I'm sure.
So does the board have any input on this timeline? This is what we're going to propose doing for now. Obviously, it's a draft and it will change as we change, but our plan is to, we just did this last year, and so we have a lot of ideas from staff. In working with UTA yesterday, we talked about doing some education of staff around the budget and the different pots of money and where the problem is, so that people are giving suggestions that are related to that. So, so that we don't create all new lists, we're going to put those lists back out and just ask if anybody has anything new to add for reductions.
Trustee Van Sant?
This is not a well-formed thought, so, and I'm not attached to it. But, and now I'm looking at this timeline thinking it might not work at all, but I'll just say it anyway. I'm wondering would there be value in the board kind of looking at the list before it goes elsewhere? Because, I mean, I'm just changing up the process a little bit in that the board first has a list of things that we would all know we're comfortable with, and then have people weigh in on those.
But don't we
Rather
want,
than the other direction around, especially since we're working from an existing list.
but we want people to be able to add to that list, right? Because then would it look like we weren't open to other people's?
Well, we're
Suggestions.
working from an old list, so we have sought input, and I guess I would want to avoid community putting forward something that was important to them that was just already a no-go with us. That seems a little bit unfair to the community. So again, I'm not attached to this, I'm just thinking, is it better for the community to look at a list that they know the board's at least open to, or work from a list where there's some things on it that we wouldn't even consider, so they're wasting their time? I'm just trying to make this process not an exercise in people discussing things that are not actually viable, particularly since we're working with a list that's already been approved. But I'm not, I just had this thought like this as I'm talking, so I'm not attached to anything.
Trustee Arkin?
Don't, it's already an existing list, right? So the only kinds of ads that would be to it would be the suggestions from someone that something else needs to be put on there to be gone, right?
Yes.
Right.
And, but, so, for, I mean, I think it's fine for us to see it before, but I don't think it matters one way or the other, because either way, once we see it, we still, none of it is for sure until we've seen it all, and we then add what else we feel should be on there, right?
Yeah, I was more thinking that we would take stuff off the list that we knew we're not open to yet. Because I can't remember this list at all. I just know that we kind of stopped the process. We never totally completed this process last year because the amount of money that we needed to change, that we needed to cut, ended up being much less than we thought. So we never really fully, as a board, we never fully vetted this list. It became unnecessary, somewhat through the process.
We've been discussing putting together some information in general that if things are on the restricted side of the budget, that they're not necessarily what we're looking for. We're looking specifically for unrestricted general fund money. So something from the cafeteria wouldn't work. So we thought about putting together something that we could share with people so that they would have more of an idea of what it is, what types of things would be possible. And plus, we've categorized the list. If you recall, there were some things suggested that we legally have to do, some that are restricted, some that are negotiable. So that is not always something that is just at our ability to change without negotiating. So we had them categorized as well.
So any other thoughts on this?
I think I understand what Megan is trying to say, is that my recollection is that we were given the list the night of the meeting.
Yeah.
Isn't that
No,
true?
we spent a couple
Or-
of meetings on it.
We had it.
Yeah.
No, but I meant, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, never mind.
My hesitation would be that they would think we'd pre-decided something. That would be my hesitation. And also, we would be looking at possibly a partial list, and would it feel like we would be ruling out some things if we decided before people had a chance for their input? I'm not sure. I don't have a strong opinion. I'm just not sure how logistically it would work. Would we be looking at the list twice then?
I don't know, I hadn't thought it through. I hadn't, as I said, I hadn't thought it through, and I realized the DAC's meeting in like
Yeah.
a week or two, so that may make the whole thing moot. But I think it's disingenuous of us to allow stakeholders to spend a lot of time and have a lot of agonizing decisions on whether or not they think this cut should happen, if it's something we would never even consider. And so that's what I was trying to avoid. It just doesn't, if I was sitting in a meeting and I'm like, oh, okay, God, I guess I'll vote for that, but I really don't want it to happen. It was never an option to begin with. I'm just trying to add that.
Right.
Especially, again, since we're working from an old list. But I think it's probably too late in the process. This might.
Well, I think that a lot of restricted programs that we have, we could identify as such because they have specific money for them. So that,
And we do that already. I mean, the lists are if you remember the list last year, there were 4 of them, and they were carved up into, is it negotiable, is it restricted, is it illegal, and then there's the general fund. So we did present all those lists to the board. And I think, and I understand what you're saying, Megan, and I just think that because we're a district that believes heavily in stakeholder input, I think getting people's best thinking, there might be some new ideas that people come up with
And I
to
wouldn't- I
add
wouldn't
to the
wanna sculpt
list. And I think in the past, the board has wanted to hear from our main stakeholder groups about how they prioritize things before they make a decision about something. So that would be my fear in just having the board pare down the list right away.
Trustee Barrett?
I think we should go ahead with your timeline as planned. I think, whether we looked at it ahead of time and then people added things, I think
the end is gonna come out the same.
Yeah.
So I think we should go ahead as planned.
Trustee Arkin?
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't remember anything on the list that I felt, oh no, we can't do it with that, or absolutely, we can't do it with that. I would like to let our stakeholders check it out, add, subtract, and then I'd like to see from that point of view, and then have a discussion of yes or no, or why not, rather than make a declaration beforehand. I don't feel this is fair.
Trustee Van Sant, are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, we'll see how it goes, and then.
I can't for the life of me remember anything
I
on the list,
can't
so.
do
it's-
I agree.
I just don't know what's on there.
I just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so then we'll continue as is. Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
You- Next, we have, you might be staying up there, South Valley High School site improvement update?
Because I don't see Dawn yet, can we do the next agenda item, which is initial proposal
He's not
for,
gonna be here. He's not
what's that?
coming. Is he coming?
Penny, why don't you go talk to Gabe and we'll do the next item and then you guys can let us know.
So let's jump down to presentation of initial proposal for 1819 negotiations with Nicole.
UTA has identified Section 8, Wages and Benefits, Section 6, Class Size, and Section 20, Evaluation for District Credit of the UTA contract for 2018-19 negotiations. And that's their sunshine list.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve, to accept the initial proposal for negotiations?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, let's go to public hearing resolution number 11 regarding the sufficiency and insufficiency of instructional materials. Katie?
You have to open the.
Oh, I haven't had a public hearing in a whole year. I want to open the public hearing.
Good evening. As we're required every year, Ed Code Section 60119 requires us to have a public hearing on sufficiency of textbooks. The County Office of Ed came out to our schools and inspected our textbooks, and we have no insufficiencies. So we're opening the public hearing.
Any comment? No. Close the public hearing.
All right.
Is there a recommendation to approve this resolution?
I move approval of this resolution.
A second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopping back up to South Valley High School site improvement update.
Thank you. Don Alameda, our architect for the project, has a family health issue, so he wasn't able to be here right now. But Gabe Sherman, our Director of Maintenance, Operation, and Transportation, is going to share with us the progress update.
Good evening. Short and sweet, it is almost ready for your occupation. We have the final inspections occurring in the next couple days, so we expect by next week we should be able to start kind of doing the slow move over. We have a few internal things, some technology updates to do there, but we're looking good as far as the office itself is concerned. The greater picture, obviously, is the funding issue with the CTE building. I think you're aware of why we didn't do it. And then the existing office building there. In the 5-year deferred maintenance plan that I'm going to be bringing forward next month, one of the items we identify is demolishing that existing building, just because it's not tenable to keep it going. That was one of the kind of the impetus for this project in the first place. It's full of asbestos and lead and all that fun stuff. So the plan is to keep it marginally occupied through the school year just for the food service portion of it, but get all the admin staff out and over to the South Valley office building by the end of this month.
Great. Questions, Trustee Van Sant?
I'm very sad that the CTE facility seems to be significantly stalled. So
That,
Is there anything we can do about that?
Well, we're still, I mean, we're actively pursuing, there was a CTE facilities grant that came out, but evidently continuation high schools are not eligible. It has to be a comprehensive high school. So we asked questions about, could we open that class up to high school students that didn't fit the criteria? It all depends on the CDS code. So that funding is out. So we are looking for funding sources because we really want that building to happen. I mean, it's all part of the master plan of that school. If you haven't been to South Valley yet, the asphalt around the basketball courts is awesome. It's great seeing the kids out there without having trip hazards everywhere. The bathroom renovation was great, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the other building looks like.
and there's other quality of life. I mean, the fire alarm system was totally upgraded. The PA system was upgraded as part of that. It's one of the requirements, as long as the bathroom. I would note, because we have these plans at 100%, and, we turn around tomorrow and have an almost 100% bid set. That really gives us a springboard. If we do identify a funding stream, we can jump right in with it, so.
Meaning the plans for the CTE building are all done and
Right,
everything?
Yes.
exactly.
Yep. We're just
So,
looking for money.
And the way we built it phases us and allows us to move over to it. So when one of the decisions we had to make when we did this project was, we know we're not going to be able to do the CTE building, so how do we parcel it up on the bid and the pre-bid to allow us to have two separate scenarios? One is we don't have enough money, we can't do the CTE building, but we put the admin building in with the eye of setting us up for the CTE building in the future. And so a lot of the site improvements we did were with the assumption that we would have funding at some point to do the CTE building, be that next year, or 2 or 5 years from now. There will be a small escalation, and we will probably, if the timeline gets pushed too far down, we'll probably have to do a few minor changes to the plan just to, bring us up to the ever-changing code that DSA puts on us. But for right now and for the foreseeable future, we do have a viable plan.
Trustee Montpere?
I'm just curious, who's going to demolish the building?
We will bid it out. There remains to be seen. It'll be a local contractor. So the first phase would be remediation, and we'd hire that out to an environmental company, because they have to go in and, take out all the asbestos and the lead and all that. And then it would be a local Class B contractor, most likely, would come in and tear down the building, put it in a truck and haul it out of there. We don't want to do it while school's in session, though, just because of, whatever may be still lingering on the site.
I'm just wondering if, we couldn't put together one of those classes in construction and have.
Boy, I think this is the wrong project to do it on. Hazmat is a very specialized field. Yeah.
And the other question I had from anybody is there any sense of the students that they feel something has finally been done? I know they were feeling very neglected and.
Chris isn't here, but what I would say is the basketball court, they're loving it. I mean, really, that is probably, it was before we did anything, it was, for my money, the most used basketball court in Ukiah, and it's just more so now. I mean, it's flat, it's in really nice condition. I mean, when they did it, they regraded a little bit, so the southern side, the eastern side came up a little bit, so there's probably some more slam dunks going on over there now. No, it looks good, and they're pretty happy, I think.
It
So.
looks very nice.
Trustee Arkin?
Is there any way we can kind of deal with our legislator about something like that? For them to look into some kind of in and out having to do with the building? No?
B, are you talking about
Our
the existing CTE grant funding? We could certainly call them. I don't know at this point if it would impact, but we could call and try.
We actually be asked at CDE, they had their legal review it. So they made a ruling that it wasn't eligible for that particular grant, the CTE facilities grant. So unless something changes along those lines, which we can keep an eye open for.
Thank you.
And then we may also have additional community development funds coming in, and we have a call in to the tax assessor, and we expect to hear something back. If we get that money, it's usually in December, so we could add that to our kitty.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? information only. Thank you very much, Gabe, for stepping in. Thank you, Penny. Next time, Gabe, you should wear the bow tie, though. Yeah. Keep a bow tie in your gold compartment. Now we are scooting down to superintendent's report.
Just a few things. One, I wanted to introduce our Communications and Community Engagement Officer, Doug Schald. We are so happy to have you here. And this is Doug, everyone. And Doug comes to us with over 25 years of experience in public relations. He does graphic design work. We are so lucky to have him join our team. He's from Ukiah, and he most recently was working at the hospital on the coast. But he started maybe 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't left yet, so I'm really happy about that. But you'll be seeing him around, and we're super excited to have you on board, Doug.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Homecoming, Gordon kind of stole all the things I was going to talk about, but I really want to acknowledge our kids. They're really amazing. The students in our school district are really amazing, and I had the chance to visit Calpella this week, and there were TK and kindergarten students doing line dancing, and they're having a barn dance on Friday. It was tomorrow. It was super precious, all the way up to our high school kids who've probably been working 6 to 8 weeks on everything that goes into producing our homecoming. And I have to say, having worked at several high schools in California, it really is the best in terms of any high school I've worked at, and those kids work so hard. So the rally is tomorrow at 9:55. If you're doing nothing at that time, board members, you might want to stop by and see all the good work the kids did. And of course, we have the parade at 3:45 tomorrow, and then the game. So, but I want to acknowledge our kids, the class advisors who are working so closely with those classes, the amount of time those teachers and class advisors have spent is really commendable and amazing. So anyway, I just wanted to acknowledge our kids. I'm sure that is why our student board member is not here tonight. He's super involved in homecoming. So anyway, I'm just really proud of our students. They're amazing young people. And I know often older people like me complain about this generation of students, and I have to say they're super remarkable kids. So we had our principals network today that went until 4 o'clock, and our amazing custodial staff came in and turned this room around for the board meeting. I'm appreciative of them. It's so great to see our principals. We are serving. We have principals from Colusa, Lake, Mendocino, and Sonoma County coming. And it's so great to see them able to connect with one another, because we live in a very isolated place. And so I think that's probably the thing that they're valuing the most, is the time that they get to collaborate with one another. So I'm really excited about that project and proud of it. And there are now 4 networks in the state like this. And they're looking to expand because they're getting more requests. I'm like, we can't expand. But anyway, we're really excited to host that project here. And with that, Gordon talked about the district site leadership team. We have a great group of people working. And this year, we're really focusing on multi-tiered systems of support and creating common assurances. It's kind of what we talked about last spring in terms of what we're going to be tight on versus loose. The new lingo is sort of common assurances. And so we're working across the system to define in writing what our common assurances are, and we'll share that with the board. So it's being drafted, leadership is looking at it, they're giving input and bringing it back to the DSLT. So we're still working on scheduling site visits, and Katie and I on Monday, that is our task on Monday, to get all those scheduled out. We'll let you know what the dates are, where we're going, and if you want to join one of the teams, we would love to have you. We've identified several elementary schools. We're having a harder time finding middle schools or high schools that are like us, that are getting better results. So, but we're close. We're super close. I think that's all. I think that's enough for now, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Any questions? Are there any board members who would like to add knowledge to the board? Oh, Trustee Barrett, back from Europe.
I just have to tell you that I was so excited last week at the football game because the band from the high school, Pomalita, and Eagle Peak, they marched in all around the track and they sat together, they played together. It was just heartwarming. So it's just so neat to see this going on at the schools. So
Great.
just had to
Thank you.
pass
Trustee Van Sant. What's your knowledge?
It's actually not knowledge, it was so, there's another moment where we have requests for information. I'll wait. I have no knowledge.
No knowledge. That's unusual. Okay, Trustee Mompere?
I just wanted to, I didn't know it until this morning, but today is International Girl Day. And there was some, I wish I'd known about it and we could have done something about it, but there was some fabulous footage from all over the world of people who are working to reduce the fact that 3 billion girls are not in school in this world. And there are so many people working with foundations and things to change that. And it was very inspiring to see their faces and listen to them. So.
Thank you. Okay, next we have expulsions. Is there a motion to expel student AA 1011 2018 for the fall of 2018 and spring 2019?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to suspend the expulsion of student BB 1011 2018 for the fall of 2018 and the spring of 2019?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Planning, now this is where people can bring up something, correct? Trustee Van Sant, did you have something you want to say at this point?
I was curious whether our sites recycle. And
Recycle?
Recycle. And if not, is there something the board can do to require, whatever, recycling? I have this note to myself. I don't know why I have this note to myself, which makes me think somebody told me that we don't recycle at our school site. So I'm going to leave that to you, Deb, to perhaps, maybe there's more to it already? Well, I'm not sure. I guess that depends. If the answer is yes, then I guess I only need a Friday communication. If the answer is no, then maybe it would be more than that.
I think I can speak to it a little bit. So the sites currently do have a recycling stream. It's mainly paper, cardboard. A lot of our waste stream is actually garbage. However, we're aware of it and we're looking into it. So Jim Stewart and I actually have a meeting on Monday with Lindsay McCollum from CNS Waste to talk about compostables and kind of taking a lot of what we have in our landfill waste stream out of the waste stream. I'd say probably 70-75% of our waste is cafeteria. And the problem is, historically, is you have plastic spoons and forks in the food boats. You have a lot of items that aren't recyclable, but they're green wasteable. And so we have to come to a nice balance between being able to parse out all of the plastics and also end up with a situation that's sustainable and not increase our pest population. So we're looking into it, and we really want to get a model program in place this year. And the first step is really talking to CNS and getting kind of an idea of what their recommendations are. So.
Okay, personally, I'd like to be aggressive about that and really make that happen. And if there's something the board can do to support that, I'd be interested in talking about it at the board level. I'm sure CNS gets a lot of business from us, so I think they should step up and do whatever they're supposed to be doing to help us make this happen.
I think a lot of it's going to be on our end and educating our students and our staff and our elementary schools kids.
Communications person who can help us do that.
Our elementary kids are actually pretty good at it. I don't know if you've visited the elementary schools and watched them process. Yeah, so I think it's just we're there. We just need to take one final little step with elementary schools. So.
Okay, great.
We'll see.
So Gabe, after your meeting, can you just do a little write-up, and I will pass it on to the board?
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then we'll see how else the board might be able to help with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Trustee Mompere?
I don't know, I talked to Trustee Van Sant, and she was interested too, but I would know if enough of the board is interested in finding out about just the whole general state of interns that we have and what we're doing to support them in a more detail. I mean, I saw contracts today, and I know we have mentors, but I just don't even understand how the whole program works, and I would just be curious to know what schools are involved normally, and I'm sorry, what?
Teacher interns, you're talking about.
Teacher interns. I've had a comment from some teachers who receive students the year after they've been taught by an intern, and there's a noticeable difference in the preparedness of those students. But if that's only my interest, then I'm happy to drop it.
Deb, would it be too much work to prepare something like that for TGIF to let us know what the status is?
We can do a little report to the board on how many interns we have and what the level of support is that they're given.
I mean, I would be interested in.
Yeah, we can do a written report.
That'd be great.
In the next, is it the next month, okay? 3 weeks?
Well, I thought tomorrow morning would work for me, but.
We're leaving early, you know, you can't crack it out today.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, great. Trustee Nelson.
I can't remember the last time I used quadratic equation or referred to Beowulf during my day-to-day activities, but I do type every single day. And we have about, I kind of roughed it, about 2,500 kids that are going through our district right now that will receive no typing instruction. Currently, we're doing our best to teach K through 5, and I hope that as those fifth graders leave K through 5 that they have really fast fingers. I'm hoping that my colleagues here wouldn't mind discussing at our next meeting whether we feel like tackling opportunities that might be out there for teaching typing to the rest of the kids.
Would that be a board level discussion to start with?
Frankly, I wasn't sure where to start with this, whether I should visit site councils to get the pulse, but I really wasn't sure, so I thought I'd bring it here to see if anybody else would be interested in talking about this.
Are you talking specifically about high school, or are you talking about junior high, high school? Not elementary, correct?
I think junior high schools, the reason why this particular issue came back up is I was at Farm Supply and this kid was a whiz on the young man, was a whiz on the keyboard, and I said, hey, where'd you learn how to type? Because it's kind of one of my passions right now. And he said, oh, I learned it at Pumlita, it was great. So apparently at one point we did teach typing in school. I don't know if that's necessarily a path that we want to explore right now, but I thought at the very minimum we should talk about it to decide, let's just let these kids slide through, we'll see how they do with the rest of their lives without typing skills. Or should we explore summer school? Do we want to include it in classes somewhere? Frankly, I don't know what the answer is, but again, I think we all use typing every single day. It would be great to offer that to our kids.
Comments on that one? Yeah.
And if you guys aren't interested, I certainly don't mind going down in flames again. There'll be other issues that I can bring up later that I'll look for your support on. But if it's something that there's interest in, it would be great to discuss it at a near future board meeting.
Deb, do you have some comment there? I'm not sure where the balance is myself, because as much as I'd like to have everyone typing, I'm really hopeful that we've covered that with K-5 and that those kids will become proficient typists. But I don't know how it would happen at the junior high and high school, and I don't know if that would be coming from us or if that would be more coming from the schools. That would be my quandary. Trustee Arkin?
So my question would be, how many kids don't type? I mean, I think most of them who have computers and all that kind of stuff do type. I mean, we've had it for several years, the kids have learned. So, I mean, do we know? I mean, has there been an issue at the
I only
high
have
school?
2 data points, and those are my 2 kids.
Right.
Neither one of them know how to type. I know that after visiting one of the one of the English teachers, he said, oh yeah, they're gonna have 20 papers due this year. Some of them are handwritten, some of them are typed. So maybe my kids are slower than everybody else, but their typing skills don't exist. And so those are the 2 data points that I have.
Trustee Barrett? Oh,
I was just going to comment something like you did, Zoe, that I think because the kids all have Chromebooks and they're all doing this all the time, that waiting until middle school is far too late. They have to be doing this in elementary school. And if they're not, then they're just going to go with what they do already.
yeah, their habits will be
Yeah.
made.
And we do have our plan. We're gonna give a report to the board after soon. We were waiting for a quarter to occur before we pulled on making sure that we're on target with our plan that we developed and shared with the board last year, so.
Trustee Montpere?
I also had an interest in how the art consultants are doing in the elementary schools. I only noticed one name in that list we got for contracts, but that may be a later person. But I'm curious to know if every elementary school has an art consultant who's teaching art, or if nobody is teaching art, or, I mean, we
Do you
had
have a report
allocated
on
money
that
for
in the
each
strategic
school
plan?
site to
Right up.
have somebody.
It
So,
sounds to me that I'm kind of the outlier in this particular conversation. Oh, no, that's
Trustee
okay.
Van Zandt?
I mean, I'm interested in the art question too, but I was gonna go back to typing for a second. This, I mean, I don't know what to say, Tyler. I feel like this has been one of those weird Twilight Zone conversations on the board where my perspective is so incredibly different than what appears to be, my sense of urgency around it is just not in line with what I am gathering the people who are teaching and administering think. So I don't know what to do, Tyler, but I totally agree. I'm glad that we have a K-5 kind of focus, and I'm glad there's a program for that. I really, really hope the teachers are doing it. I really, really hope that that's actually happening. But I think we have a generation of students who did not learn how to type. And my instinct is that there are many, many, many kids who don't know how to type. Why this isn't like a total crisis for teachers, I have no idea. It's completely mystifying to me. This has been one of those issues that I can't figure out.
Can I comment to that? To be fair, every teacher and administrator that I've talked to says it's extremely important.
So then why hasn't it happened? Like, it can't be that important. They would have done it.
My understanding is, really the response is because I don't know, I'm not a teacher, I don't plan out the plans, but my understanding is that everybody's time is so precious, the teaching hours that they have, that they don't want to give up any of their time. And so my hope was if we had board members that wanted to talk more about it, but it doesn't seem that way, is that we could find other solutions. After school programs, before school, 0 period. Just kidding. Some way to get these 2,500 kids that are going through our system trained. Summer school, but if we don't discuss it, it's certainly, if the direction doesn't come from us to talk about it, then it's certainly not going to happen. I agree
It's
with
still
you.
not happening.
Trustee, Superintendent Keeper?
Just a couple of comments. One, absolutely, I think it's important. I think it's super complex, though, in a secondary setting. You talk about when, is it during electives? Do we do it a quarter during elective? We offer classes like Spanish 1, that is a year-long course. If they miss a quarter, they won't be able to go into Spanish 2 at the high school. It's just super complex. I know it seems really simple, but it's not in a secondary master schedule. I don't think I've said this yet this year, and it's October. That's pretty good. Last year, we talked a lot about what our goals are in our strategic plan and needing to focus. And I don't want us to see, I don't want this to be added to the plates of what we're doing this year. I mean, unless we want to take something away, because our staff is maxed out.
But is it possible to keep it in, I mean, you're probably right, if we don't talk about it, it won't happen, but for summer school, or not in the traditional day, but as in other options, is that something, how would that be addressed? Because I don't think that's just saying this is how it's going to happen is effective.
It's never going to,
I just want to, we aren't supposed to be discussing it here. I was just looking for an agenda item. And since our goal is to maybe get out of here at a reasonable hour this evening,
You'll give it up for next time.
I would love to see a couple of people in support of it, but if you're not in support of it, then discussing it at the next meeting.
I'm supportive, I'm supportive of you. I think it's important, but I think we're not supposed to discuss it. I can tell you exactly what happened and how we lost those kids. You want to know the history of it?
How we lost typing?
So,
Yeah.
so you have a question for us?
No, if we're going to agendize it at the next meeting, I'd like to be clear from the board who you'd like here, what we need to prepare for it, and then what staff members, do we want the secondary principals to come? Do we want, who we would like to have come to the meeting? Because
Again,
I don't think it's a good idea for the board to discuss it without staff here.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. The problem is we can't discuss because Brown Act stuff. And if we haul in the troops to come sit here and listen to me whine, and we don't have an idea or direction, it would just be nice to, to talk to these guys in an open discussion for 10 or 15, probably 15 minutes to decide, is this something that we should ask to layer on to the duties you guys are already doing? And if so, what are we going to ask for?
But that's sort of hard to do in a bubble, I think, is what she's saying, that if it's just us sitting up here deciding that, we don't necessarily know the bigger picture or the implications. So if we talk about it and we say, yeah, we'd like them to look into it, we may not know the full story. I think that is what you're implying.
I guess the problem is I don't know about planning. I'm not suggesting that we say, discuss it at our next meeting and say, yes, the high school has to have typing. I don't think that's appropriate or the right way to tackle it. But if the board is interested in supporting some sort of path, at that point, then it seems like it'd be more prudent to bring in people to go, oh yeah, here's some pitfalls, but maybe we can do it this way. But maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems a little premature to invite in a host of people without even knowing if these folks are interested in typing at all.
Trustee Arkin?
I would like to know what we are doing, like the elementary schools, exactly what they're doing. I'd like to know what the thoughts of the middle school and middle school teachers and high school, the principals, whatever, how many kids they feel are missing typing, who aren't doing typing. Maybe there's a whole bunch more that are, and Tyler forgot to teach his. And maybe there's a whole bunch that they wish they could. So I don't want to bring them in and make a big deal of it at this point, but I would like to know what is happening. I mean, something is happening because of how you started at the beginning, which is good. But I want to know what is it that is happening, and then what is lacking? Do they feel is lacking? And then maybe we could go with that. We can make it, that's what seems to be lacking. Let us make a suggestion to go further, or maybe not.
So are you suggesting like a written report, like a
Yes.
TGIF that
Something that would make it less tedious for you guys. I know. To just kind of find out some general information like that so that we know, because we keep thinking and not knowing.
Well, maybe, how do you feel about that, Superintendent? Just asking the principals to get some off-the-cuff data. Just say, hey, teachers, are your kids typing or not? Is it poke typing, or can they do, real typing that's proficient enough so that they can go out into the workforce and actually type?
I will do whatever the board directs me to do, but I'm just saying to you, we just added 2 or 3 different reports that we're asking staff to do, and I'm really, the board has really wanted us to improve our achievement results. I really want us to be focused, and every new report that we ask staff to do takes us away from our mission of improving our achievement results. I know I'm pushing back a little bit today, but I'm just being honest with the number of requests that come in, considering our massive strategic plan. So if the board tells us to get this, we will absolutely do it, but we just added 3 things to the staff members' plates. And absolutely, we've told the board, we'll give you a report on what's happening with K-5. We can remind the board of the sequence that we put out to K-5 teachers that the director of curriculum worked on last year that got taken through DCC and everything. So that's not a big deal. But we will have to pull the teachers to find out, the K-5 teachers, to find out what they're doing. So I'm going to remind the board that we have a really clear charge from the board to really focus.
Can I propose something? Can we talk about this for 15 minutes at our next board meeting, just within our group, to see what you guys are actually thinking about this? Because it's obvious from the pushback that this isn't an easy process, but if we could talk about it openly for 15 minutes where we can actually discuss legally, that would be way easier for me to say, okay, Superintendent, yes, this is important to not just Tyler Nelson, but it's important to the group. Would you guys support me in putting an agenda item on next meeting?
I'm not opposed to that. Given how challenging this conversation has been for the last 2 years, Tyler, I'm trying to figure out how we can move it forward positively, and I'm not totally seeing that right now, so I'm not opposed to your idea. I'm wondering if I need to think about it a little more to see if we can get something to do this that might work, because it's just not. And I don't know why this conversation is so hard. That's part of the challenge.
If you put it on for next month, wouldn't it be very similar to this? Because we wouldn't
We
really
wouldn't
know
be doing
anything.
what we're doing.
We'd be just doing more
Well,
of
we would be
this.
more relaxed because we would be legally talking about it as opposed to this.
Exactly.
But
I'm afraid, Tyler, that it's going to be
The same.
a longer conversation that's going to lead to the same
Yeah.
response.
it is.
I'm sure it is, but if I know that Carolyn wants to spend time on it, then, and you do, and B does, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, so this is worth asking the district to dump something else so we can add typing on. This is extremely important. All the tests are taken on computers. We're sending these kids out. To me, this is incredibly important. I would love to discuss it to see if it's important to you guys, but we can't right now. So, if you guys are willing to do it for 15 minutes next meeting, it'd be great to talk to you.
So,
Otherwise, I think we should move forward.
so I guess then my suggestion would be we agendize a 10-minute conversation about typing that nobody does any preparation for, because Deb's making it really clear she doesn't want, we need to protect staff time, so don't do anything. I don't even want anyone to think about it. Just let the board talk about it for 10 minutes. Is that what you're suggesting? We're putting no burden on anybody to do anything yet.
I think 15 minutes is way too short, but
Okay,
I would
well,
love,
we can't talk
I would love
about it.
15 minutes of time.
Okay, so 15 minutes discussion of typing with no report, nothing. Just
That's
like,
correct.
Don't ask anybody any questions.
Well, we already have a report we know we have due to the board.
But
so-
if it's agendized, if somebody is really passionate about typing, they may show up for public comment. Be an interesting.
So is that the will of the board to put it on the agenda for next month for discussion
Only,
discussion only?
no
which means
reports.
I'm sure some staff will feel like they want to come hear the discussion, or they can watch it on YouTube later.
Or maybe not.
But no requirements of any staff, additional staff coming or doing any work.
It will be nice to talk to you guys next month.
Okay, well, that took up the most time of the whole.
It's more than 15 minutes.
Keep the agendas longer if we don't talk.
Okay,
I just.
Oh, yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry, but,
the art.
is anybody else interested in knowing anything about how the art program is going? That was a part of our strategic plan and funded through the consultants in every school.
Is it in the strategic plan?
Yes.
Hey, is your
Is it-
question, Gail, you just
it's
want to
in-
know what's going on?
I want to know if anybody is getting art. If there is art, there was $75,000, I believe, for art instructors at the elementary level to go in and teach art to whatever teacher was interested.
Gail,
And
we're checking, I think it's in the quarterly update of the strategic plan. I think. But we're just double checking the level of detail that is in there. Katie's looking right now in the document that was on the consent agenda. But maybe there's not enough detail in it.
I'd be interested in the information, but I don't know if it needs to be a board agenda item yet.
Okay, that's,
Can I just clarify, are you talking about the contract for
yeah,
service the
contracts.
guest artists?
Mhm.
Okay.
I only saw one contract in the warrants today, and I know that one teacher has resigned. I'm just curious, and I know they had difficulty at Calpella, and I'm just curious, how many schools, are there any contracts for artists to go into the schools?
Yes,
I'd like to know
but
how
not
many of
every school yet.
What?
We were at, I think we had 4 out of 6.
Okay.
So, but, you know, we did have some issues where we had someone and then they
Yeah.
backed out. But I spoke with Jenny Bailey, and at that point, we had 4 out of 6. So,
Debbie, do you have something for us?
So agenda planning is scheduled for October 31st at noon.
Oh, Halloween is
No, October 30th?
October 31st. Oh, yes. Let's see. Last month it was supposed to be,
I was there.
You were there.
I did it, I took.
I can do it.
I took your space, so, yeah.
Oh, well, what time is it?
I can do it too.
you can do it, Carolyn?
Yeah.
At noon?
Or 31st,
Yeah.
Wednesday?
It's Gail and who?
It's Carol and Gail, can you make that date? Noon.
Yeah.
I cannot make noon, no. I'm flying back that day, I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be the first, or,
I'm going to commit to that. I might have to back out because of harvest, but hopefully I'll be here.
Okay, and then starting in November, you are committed for the next November, all the way through the following November, just so you know that. Okay, so it will be Carolyn and Tyler? And anything else for us, Debbie? Board workshop next week?
5 o'clock?
5 o'clock?
Is that format of that gonna be like this, or are we gonna do
What is?
tabling?
What is it?
Data?
It's on our update on our data.
Oh.
And our, just in 2 sentences, our plan is to have some table group discussions and have the principals here, and we'll do a little bit of presentation of the data, but it's gonna be more of a discussion format.
Okay. When is what?
Oh, I got it.
16,
Okay.
18.
18th. Anything else? No other items? Meeting is adjourned.